Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into a pressing topic that affects us all. Why is the global economy getting worse after COVID-19? The pandemic shook the world to its core, and while we saw some recovery, many indicators suggest that the economic landscape is far from stable. In this video, we will explore the various factors contributing to the worsening global economy post-COVID-19, supported by data and expert opinions. So, let's get started. Segment 1, Economic Recovery Stagnation. First up, let's talk about the recovery itself. After an initial bounce back in 2021, global GDP growth has been sluggish. According to the International Monetary Fund, the world economy is projected to grow at a mere 3.2% in 2024, which is significantly lower than the pre-pandemic average of around 3.5%. This stagnation can be attributed to several factors, including persistent inflation and rising interest rates, which have dampened consumer spending and investment. In the aftermath of the pandemic, governments worldwide implemented stimulus packages to revive their economies. However, as these measures begin to fade, the underlying vulnerabilities are becoming more apparent. The IMF warns that the slow recovery is largely due to the lingering effects of the pandemic, which have disrupted labor markets and supply chains globally. As we look at the numbers, it's clear that many economies are struggling to regain their footing. The World Bank has highlighted that the recovery is uneven, with developing countries lagging significantly behind their developed counterparts. This disparity not only affects economic growth, but also exacerbates existing inequalities. Segment 2, Rising Unemployment Rates. Next, let's discuss unemployment. While some regions have seen job recovery, the International Labour Organization predicts that global unemployment will rise in 2024, with an additional 2 million people expected to seek jobs. This increase is concerning, especially as many countries are still grappling with the fallout from the pandemic. The disparity between high-income and low-income countries is widening, with the latter experiencing much higher unemployment rates. In many developed nations, the job market initially rebounded as businesses reopened. However, the service sector, which employs a significant portion of the workforce, has not fully recovered. Many businesses are struggling to find workers, while others have permanently closed their doors. The ILO emphasizes the need for urgent measures to tackle rising unemployment rates, particularly among young people and vulnerable groups. If governments do not act swiftly, we could see a generation of workers left behind, further destabilizing the global economy.
Segment 3, Inflation and Cost of Living Crisis. Now, let's address inflation. Despite a slight decline in global inflation rates, many countries are still facing stubbornly high prices for essential goods. The United Nations reports that global inflation is projected to remain at around 5.2% in 2023, which continues to strain household budgets. This cost of living crisis not only affects consumer purchasing power but also leads to decreased demand for goods and services, further stalling economic recovery. Inflation has been driven by several factors, including supply chain disruptions, rising energy prices, and increased demand as economies reopen. As prices soar, consumers are forced to make tough choices about their spending, which can negatively impact businesses and overall economic growth. Moreover, central banks are responding to inflation by raising interest rates, which can lead to reduced borrowing and spending. This creates a vicious cycle that can further hinder economic recovery. The World Bank has warned that if inflation remains high, it could lead to a prolonged period of economic stagnation, particularly in developing countries. Segment 4, Supply Chain Disruptions. Another critical factor is ongoing supply chain disruptions. The pandemic exposed vulnerabilities in global supply chains, and while some improvements have been made, geopolitical tensions and trade restrictions continue to hinder recovery. According to Statista, global trade volumes have not returned to pre-pandemic levels, and this stagnation in trade affects economies worldwide, especially those reliant on exports. The disruptions have been caused by various factors, including port congestion, labor shortages, and increased shipping costs. These challenges have led to delays in production and distribution, impacting businesses and consumers alike. As companies struggle to secure the materials they need, many are forced to raise prices, further exacerbating inflation. The World Trade Organization has noted that these supply chain issues are likely to persist, posing significant risks to global economic stability.
Segment 5. Long-term economic implications. Finally, let's consider the long-term implications. The World Economic Situation and Prospects Report highlights that many developing countries are at risk of falling into a cycle of low growth and high debt, exacerbated by tightening global financial conditions. If these issues are not addressed, we could see a prolonged period of economic stagnation, which would have devastating effects on global poverty levels and social equity. The pandemic has highlighted the fragility of our global economic system, and as we move forward, it's crucial that we learn from these lessons. The need for sustainable economic policies that prioritize resilience and equity has never been more urgent. Investing in infrastructure, education, and healthcare can help build a more robust economy that can withstand future shocks. Additionally, international cooperation will be essential in addressing these global challenges, as no country can tackle these issues alone. In conclusion, while the world is slowly recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, the challenges we face are significant and multifaceted. From rising unemployment and persistent inflation to supply chain issues and growing inequalities, the global economy is in a precarious position. We must remain vigilant and proactive in addressing these challenges to foster a more resilient and equitable economic future. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe for more content on global issues. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.